Hello everybody, my name is Aud and welcome back to the Aud Narrations channel, a place where we read and review the best Reddit stories. The first of today's stories is titled, How Do I Deal with My Boyfriend Sending Explicit Videos of Me to Another Woman Behind My Back? Is it cheating of some sort? It sort of feels similar. As always, if you appreciate these videos and want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button, that way you won't miss the latest upload. Alrighty, let's make a start. The post reads, My boyfriend of a year and a half recently took a video of me giving him oral. Now I knew he was doing it, and I didn't tell him to stop. That's my fault. But I honestly didn't think he was going to do what he did with it. Recently, while laying in bed with him, he opened his Facebook chat, and I happened to notice at my quick glance he sent a woman a video. Now, I know that when you send, say, a reel, it would say you've shared an attachment, but it said shared a video, and I just knew. I felt it in my gut, but I tried to ignore it until later. I couldn't stand the thought anymore, so I did invade his privacy. I own up to it on my side, and sure enough, he had sent her the video he took just a day or two prior. I've been stomach sick over it, feeling humiliated and violated, and I don't know how to go about confronting him. To be honest, say this, say that. That's the first thing you need to say here. It's like, it's absolutely disgusting that he's felt he can share that video. It's not his video. Like, it's not his face in the video, for example. You know, if it gets leaked, he's kind of protected from it, as much as he's a dickhead. Yeah, I would basically, if it were me, be like, you need to delete that video, and what a fucking idiot. It's actually disgusting. Right, let's see what the community says. Someone's left a comment saying, it may be illegal depending on your local laws. It is a violation. No wonder you feel humiliated. At a minimum, drop him. He will never understand the violation. If he tries to explain it, it'll be along the lines of, I was so proud of what you did. Why aren't you proud as well? See a lawyer and see if you can sue him for non-consensual pornography. At a minimum, get a restraining order to prevent further sharing. You actually don't know if he sold the video and is profiting from it. You can spend any money on counselling and get a copy of the video. Do not discuss with him until you know what you're going to do. Someone replied, quoting, see a lawyer and see if you can sue him for non-consensual pornography. At a minimum, get a restraining order to prevent further sharing. And they write, talk to the police and a lawyer, OP. To which someone replied to that saying, yes, the police can get the evidence and you won't pay for getting proof. It'll get the proof for a civil suit. Someone replied to the original comment, saying, excellent response, including helpful link from the commenter adds a hyperlink to legalvoice.org/non-consensual pornography. In my opinion, it will only add to your future relationships. Have a legally binding contract, something like an NDA I guess, disallowing the sharing of personal files with others, including just showing such files to others. Yeah, it's a lot, and it's awkward, but so what? Condoms are awkward too, but you should use them without fail. Ditto disclosing to a prospective sexual partner that you have an STD. Awkward, but the rightful and respectful way forward. If somebody deserves to interact with you, they ought to comply without resistance and eyeball rolling. And they write, ugh, since the 1990s when the world went digital, people in their enthusiasm and denial have allowed themselves to be experimental sacrifices on the altar of digital communication. Enough ignorance already, protect your boundaries. Someone else had a comment saying, what he did is not only humiliating, morally disgusting, and all kinds of wrong, but also legally punishable. Do not stay with a man that would share intimate moments with you with someone else like this. This is how immature and how little respect and value he puts on you. Someone else had a comment saying, my ex asked me to take sexually explicit material of her. She would then send it to the other guy, unbeknownst to me. I was actually the side guy, and she was seeing this other guy who was engaged, for years before I was even in the picture. This guy even knew about me. Just sociopathic bullshit. I would have had no idea if I didn't check her phone one day. Someone else left a comment saying, blinking red light, run. Someone else left a comment saying, it's not cheating, but at a minimum it's an ethics violation, and possibly legal. Definitely. To be honest, the comments absolutely nail it here. OP, talk to a lawyer, work out what can be done in your state, and if appropriate, I think it's appropriate, go through the police and use them to try and get the evidence for the case. And yeah, I think if possible, the restraining order, get a copy of it yourself and stop it being shared is probably a good idea. And yeah, leave that guy. What a fucking weirdo. Right. What do you think OP should do? What would you do in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments. Sorry to interrupt the video, but since the New Year's, I set myself a goal of trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It would really help out the channel if you hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Right. Let's have a look at the second story. The second story for today is titled, My 35 male, girlfriend 31 female is intolerant of mistakes and makes me swear to try harder. And the post reads, My 35 male, girlfriend 31 female, and I are a new couple, less than a year old. We still have a lot to learn about each other, but we're mature, independently successful, and we have chemistry. So we've been living together for 3 months. Over time, she's become so critical of me that I'm scared to make mistakes. If we're walking through town and I take a second to notice the walk sign is green, she hounds me for not paying attention. Whoa, sounds familiar. If I forget a detail about something that happened at her job, even if I recall moments later, she'll ask why I didn't remember faster. If I press the wrong setting on the water purifier and the cup overflows, even if I clean it up and say I'm sorry, she won't let it go. To be honest, this is just really, really red flag behaviour. Having been with someone who's like this and just explodes over the smallest things, it doesn't really get any better. I would drop this. In theory, the excuse the person will use is that there's a lot of stuff going on in their life and they're stressed, and so they're kind of on like a hairpin trigger. But in a relationship, at least in my opinion, it's just not appropriate at all. Let's continue. They write, By won't let go, I don't mean she needs time to get over it. I mean she keeps a written log of my failures. Whoa, okay, this guy wins. She says they're important because she needs a dependable man in order to plan a secure future. Mistakes show a lack of dependability, forcing her to question if I'm right for her. Leave, man, run. She often says, if I can't rely on you to make the right choice with little things, how can I rely on you to make the right choice with big things? The big thing here is whether to stay or leave, and in a sense, if she still has the option to upgrade you, you've made the wrong choice. She considers some mistakes forgivable, as long as I promise to try harder next time, and I never dispute my error. If I suggest a small mistake isn't a big deal, she regards this as irresponsible and unaccountable, and no mistake is exempt from being recorded in her journal, forgiven or not. I would burn that book. This scrutiny pervades every aspect of our lives. 2 weeks ago we were lying in bed and I was trying out one of her favourite games, Genshin Impact, for the first time. I failed to notice that one of the characters, Amber, was a fire type. It's alarming you don't see the things right in front of you, she said. I explained it was late, I had a tiring day, and I wasn't focused on the game. I just wanted to relax and enjoy it casually. She said that was no excuse for failing to see what was on the screen, because no matter how relaxed I am, she expects me to be constantly alert. Bruh. Like, obviously you have the rest of your life. You need to manage. And so does she, but she is trying to burn your candle from both ends in this context. Like, not giving you any time to rest. No, it's just not healthy. We argued about this for 24 hours about Genshin Impact. She needs to touch grass. With her insisting that any reasonably aware person would have noticed Amber's fire attribute, and me insulting that no reasonable person would say such a thing. Since she was ready to break up over it, I eventually had to save our relationship by asking how I could prove that relaxation is a choice, not a disability. She said that if I could play Genshin Impact several nights in a row without making mistakes, her faith in me would be restored. I found this test offensive. This is what you found offensive, but agreed to keep the peace. Fast forward to today, which began with her telling me that she wants to get the creases out of her new shirt, but doesn't know how to use her clothes steamer. I've used a steamer a dozen times throughout my life, so I offered to show her how. Right away, I went to get the steamer, uncoiled the cord, unscrewed the top and filled the tank with water, as I've always done. And now you just turn it on and wait for the water to boil, I explained. But then she pointed at it and said, "You went over the maximum fill line." Her tone shift was familiar. Full disclosure, I didn't know steamers had max lines. I can see why they would, since overfilling one would make the boiling water spit out. And to me that's common sense, which is why I never filled them to the top. I just filled this one more than the line indicated. I knew where this was going. She wanted an admission of guilt and a promise to do better. But I've used these things so many times without incident, I was 100% sure nothing would go wrong. I begged her, please, just trust me, just watch. And she stormed out of the room snapping at me, I'm not coming anywhere near you while you're misusing that thing. I switched on the steamer and it functioned exactly as I knew it would, and I ironed her shirt all by myself. And then I brought it to her and said, "You see, nothing bad happened. The line is just for liability purposes." But she replied, "The result doesn't matter. Just because nothing bad happened this time or the last time you used the steamer doesn't mean nothing will go wrong next time." By neglecting to study the device, you will see the max fill line. You took an unnecessary risk. You could have hurt me, and you could have hurt yourself. I expect more diligence, and for your refusal to your own mistakes makes it even worse. I hope this woman is, like, perfect in every regard, in every aspect of her life, if this is the standard that she holds everyone else to. Or holds her partner to, I guess, is in particular. Because this is absolutely ridiculous. And also, so I think the issue is she's basically taking the worst interpretation, like bad faith interpretation about everything. So you make a mistake and she basically takes it really personally because, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. I can't really rationalize it. They continue, as usual, I can save the relationship if I admit fault, but I feel like I just can't anymore. Good. I truly don't think I made an error here, and even if I had, I'm so tired of apologizing for every misstep, swearing oaths to become better, even though I don't think there's anything wrong with me. To be fair, sorry, I've just... flashback. This is basically just an, if not abusive, emotionally abusive relationship, where she's just pecking at you all day, every day, about everything, and it just whittles down your resolve and self-esteem, basically. Effectively turns you to mush. Ironically, she'll probably not be that attracted to a mush. It's silly. My first question is to you. Is there something wrong with me? No. If not, my second question is, what can I do about this other than leaving her? Nothing. You're not the problem from this post. She's pecking at you for accidents, and she doesn't seem to be able to just understand that shit happens sometimes. How can I convince her that it's okay for me to be a human? This is the bit I guess I don't understand. She's basically, maybe it's an OCD thing. Who knows? Either way, she's definitely not the right person for you. She clearly needs like a fellow person who's equally obsessed about everything. TLDR, my girlfriend thinks she needs a partner who doesn't make any mistakes. This leads to some pretty severe fights, and it's wearing down my resolve, even though we get along great otherwise. What do? Yeah, I mean, I've kind of given my thoughts throughout this whole post, but OP, you just need to leave, man. This woman is a bunny boiler through and through. Yeah, like, again, having been there with someone that's like this, explodes over tiny things, it does not get better. The more you concede, the more arguments will happen, because you've basically told her it works. She gets her way, you deal with it, and there is obviously a straw on the camel's back, building over time, but she's not going to see that coming until it explodes in her face and never realize. She's just going to, you know, each of these interactions, effectively, you've pissed her off somehow by doing something, I'll say silly, but that's not the right word, and effectively she's like offended by it because you're not perfect for some reason. You then grovel and apologize, making her feel better and humiliating yourself in the process. And so she walks away feeling like, yeah, all good now, all is fine and dandy, I guess. Assuming she doesn't rehash stuff, which I almost guarantee she does. Basically, it teaches her that this kind of explosive reaction over tiny things works. She gets what she wants. She gets that sort of apology for she gets that like humiliating apology from you for her having a tantrum, basically. And you doing that and not just leaving, I sort of told her that yes, that's fine in a way. Ironically, she won't really reflect on this because you've done it for so long. And there's been so many occurrences where there's been not really any repercussions for her, that when the straw breaks the camel's back, she won't be like, oh, it was all of the behavior. She'll be like, oh, he's just overreacted this one time. Every other time, he was fine. He did what I wanted. He made me feel good. Let's see what the community says. Someone left a comment saying, I stopped reading after she keeps a written log of my failures. Buddy, get some self-respect and move on from this monster. Someone replied saying, you live in hell. It's time to move on. This is not normal. Someone replied to that saying, there are a lot of good takes in this thread, but I don't think any sum it up better than, you live in hell. Yeah, that's a fair description. Someone replied to the original comment saying, holy shit, same. This person is collecting every receipt of every failure in order to always have proof that you're lesser for any argument you get into, or to get her way every time. Not worth it. Though I did go back and read if she's been critical of how you play video games too. That's insanity. New couple, less than a year old, living together for 3 months, and it's a bad fit. Say it ain't so, Bob. Someone replied saying, and he keeps saving the relationship? What the fuck? Let her break up with you. Wad up the shirt and stomp on it and tell her to iron her own shit and leave. I can't believe this comment's not perfect. It's actually about a steamer. I want a handwritten apology. Someone else left a comment saying, mate, this is psychological abuse. Seriously, absolutely unhinged behaviour. Please don't underestimate the effect this kind of abuse can have on your mental health and your entire outlook on yourself, on relationships and life in general. Yeah, actually, to be fair, this is a fair point. Again, as someone who's been through this, it took like 8 months before I kind of remembered who I was. It sounds really silly, but it takes a long time to heal from this, especially if you've kind of normalized this little ritual. There's no way on earth that anything this woman does for you could ever be worth letting her destroy you like rust eating a car. I know. Reddit is famous for fuck that. DTMFA? I don't know what that means. I can't work it out. But honestly, a lot of that is because a massive proportion of the fucking people on this sub are being abused and don't realize it, or don't realize how bad it is, or are second guessing themselves and just need that little confirmation that yes, they deserve better. You deserve better. She's awful. Someone replied, quoting, please don't underestimate the effect this kind of abuse can have on your mental health and your entire outlook on yourself, on relationships and life in general. And they write, can confirm, nearly 7 years of almost identical abuse hollowed me out, and my ex didn't even keep a log. I really hope that OP ends the relationship. Someone else left a comment saying, she keeps a log of your failures? Dude, that's controlling and intense as fuck. I mean, her behavior was already full of red flags before you got to divulging that, but that's insane. You've got to be walking on eggshells the rest of your life if you stay with this woman. No, there is not something wrong with you, there is something wrong with her. Why should you have to convince her it's okay for you to be human? If that's a thing in the first place, then there's something fundamentally wrong with her. You can try and talk her into being more chilled out, but it sounds like this is fairly innate behavior. For your own sanity and future happiness, this sounds like a walk-away situation. Someone replied saying, indeed, it probably is an innate psychological problem. This behavior is not that of a healthy neurotypical person. It seems like she had severe OCD with compulsions and intrusive thoughts about perfectionism. Someone else left a comment saying, don't date somebody who tests you. Someone replied saying, and in this case, don't date somebody who detests you. Love that. That's funny. Someone else left a comment saying, from all of the mistakes you mentioned, the only one that stands out and really needs to be fixed is your lack of backbone. Dump her on sight the next time she brings out her little notebook. Jesus. Someone replied saying, exactly. I'd be like, listen, I make way too many mistakes and it makes you unhappy, so I'm going to need to end the relationship and go work on myself. Turn the tables. My ex-husband constantly threatened divorce as a control tactic, and finally one day I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. We should divorce. And then he tried for months to backpedal and manipulate me, and I was firm. We got divorced. Thank God. Someone replied saying, tale as old as time. I've heard from a few friends who were in abusive relationships that the guy who would always threaten to breakups would cry and beg when the other party would actually initiate a breakup. Yes. I think the comments here, to be fair, really spell it out, which is just OP. You need to just run for the hills or kick her out if she's in your place. If it's only like 3 months, if it's less than a year in, it's so early doors, it's just not worth it, man. Not worth it. It's not even, I would normally describe these situations as tricky. This one's just transparent. Yeah, but the comments do sum it up perfectly, which is, this is an abusive relationship. OP, you may not be aware of it, but you are being abused by this woman. And the only way to fix it is to not be there in that relationship. What disgraceful behavior. Not from OP, from the other person. Right. What do you think OP should do? What would you do in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you appreciate these videos and want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. That way you won't miss the latest upload. Alrighty, we'll have to finish there for today. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.